Welcome to a Redhead Rewriting Reality, presented by multi-genre author Kimberly Sue Iverson, a place where stories are companion to life, where stories become a bridge that connect us all, and conversations feel like coming home. I am your host, Kimberly Sue Iverson, and today I'll be sharing with you a story that's close to my heart. If you prefer to read along or explore more stories, visit my website at kimberlysueiverson.com. This audio experience is intended for an adult audience. Themes and topics may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. Now, get yourself comfy and make yourself at home as we explore today's tale. Adventures and Lessons Part 2. This is Part 2 of 2, continuing from last week. Before I continue from last week, where I was discussing the major part of our move, gratitude, and needing a moment to move on, I wanted to mention this. When I go hard into the quote-unquote at least comments and gratitude, be aware I do it too. I think most, if not all of us, will do it. It's just become such normal behavior. Like telling a story and having someone go into wanting relate, so tell their own. It's not always wrong, not always right. It's just something we do that lately has had a glaring sign over it for me when people do it or I do it, and I'm trying to ease off of it and instead simply absorb the moment, pause, and reflect. It feels as if we don't give as much of a pause as maybe we can to allowing that space to breathe, to think, to not have to compare, relate, or otherwise, and simply absorb. It's all context. Not every time is it wrong. Not every time is it right. It doesn't mean you're a bad human for doing it, since I just said that I do it too. It's simply context and a burr up my butt when it's said, even by self. I notice it's done too much now. I guess part of it too is that high horse aspect. Not everyone has that when they do it, but it can feel like being looked down upon. And yes, if we are bothered by something, it can also be a me problem more. Far too many people seem to be into that arena. More need grace now and less superiority complex. Hopefully that settles. I could even say that I could become more accommodating. And though that's true, I've become accommodating so much my entire life to be kind, graceful, mannerly in times I didn't need to. So I won't apologize. And you shouldn't either if you behave not so perfect all the time. You'll screw up. I'll screw up. You'll make mistakes and do the wrong thing, as will I. I'm over apologizing for being me and having one or more make it seem like even the way I breathe is wrong and abnormal. All because I lived with a narcissist who made even normal things a struggle for me, like how I eat, when I eat, what I eat, or bathroom habits, every single thing. So I'm figuring out my shit and done apologizing for myself. I definitely have always had attitude to where a part of me didn't and knew I didn't have to. But it hits different when you're older and finally free of that person. though I live with another who shows traits of hers that can be far too similar. I probably do too. It's still simple in what I've always said. Don't like the way I am. Don't be around me. Don't like how I behave, how I look, how I act. Look away. Don't listen. Simply don't be around me. People just need to step off the high horse and stop with the superiority complex some have. I am not that special. You are not that special. At the same time, we all are in our own unique way. Don't hold it over another because they aren't. Would you a child? Then why an adult? We're all different. That's why we work as individuals. Who wants a carbon copy society? I never have. We all contribute our own unique flavor into a lovely, delicious soup of ridiculously silly humanity. Community is a good thing. Family is a good thing, even if it's not been good. Even if your personal preference isn't being around either, or you think otherwise. Anywho, now to continue. A huge help for us with the move ended up being that I spent the previous 2-ish months slowly packing everything I could. It's why we ended up keeping a lot of stuff too. As I said before, what helped with that was taking the time to write down every item I'd put into a box in a notebook. Like an inventory list. I'd write the box number down and ensure I kept that notebook close. I kinda wish I'd dedicated more time to it, but I did the best I could. I was partly thinking we'd have help, but also not wanting to trust that entirely. Also, I was still busy trying to clean and gather to donate, and working every free minute I had to keep lights and heat on since we were in that middle zone of not having money from selling the house and we're still struggling. My brother and I are accepting of the losses, and because we aren't as materialistic, we even now are setting so much aside as we figured we might now that we're unpacking. Donations. I mean, why keep items we most likely won't use and others who aren't so fortunate can benefit from? People like us, people worse off. Let them have these things. They need them way more. There's food too that hasn't expired, but we have too much of from stuff my mom had purchased long ago in bulk. It's a lot of what we were living off of too. Soups, vegetables in cans, canned fruit, stovetop, stuff like that. We don't need it like others may. A smaller part of that too is that in the rental we got, despite it being only a few 100 square feet smaller than the house we lived in, it severely lacks storage and service space. I think in this house the kitchen was sacrificed for a roomier dining room perhaps, maybe even so it could have a breakfast nook. The rooms aren't as big as they sound. We just use the breakfast nook as a through space since it's really not that big. I was going to make it a small reading area, but I get sensory overload easily now, and my brother has the TV on when he is up. I can't stand the noise after a bit. I used to always remain in my bedroom, but we had planned on the extra bedroom being more of a computer room, storage space, mini library. I may use that room, further away from the living room. Again, it sounds bigger than it is. It's not that big. It is a house and not an apartment, so it does have room though. My brother was adamant about not wanting an apartment. In many of the places we were looking at, the apartments and houses weren't different in cost, really. At least that we could qualify for. That was a massive hurdle many didn't see that we qualified for. You could look at a listing and think it'd have been perfect and think all you like. But calling and speaking to someone directly and trying to qualify is an entirely different experience. So we did get lucky with where we ended up. It is a comfortable space that feels like a home, as if we've been here a long time. It feels really nice, and we are living in a community. The neighborhood is alive but quiet, meaning lots of families surround us. The yard is my favorite. The backyard especially, since the older woman who used to own the home landscaped it. So no grass in back, but pathways in and out and around, which makes it feel larger. Lots of small hills and valleys too. I'm just working with the space to maximize every inch possible in this house. Much of what we have recovered has been from taking advantage of end-of-the-year sales, limited time specials, clearance sales, holiday specials, and all that on different sites. We are also fortunate we've been able to do so and fully acknowledge it and are aware of it. I have been able to find storage units to go with the 2 bookcases we were fortunate to recover and keep. I wanted to keep one other in particular, but that too was lost. They're not all wood. They're that composite made to look like wood, so still really expensive to replace, which means some of the new items are not a strong, solid material, but discounted and low-priced plastic and metal type things. I'd make my own bookcases, but many of our tools and our nails and such were also lost. I told my brother, trust me, had I known nobody would grab all that by the back door, I would have full-on thrown those nails into a garbage bag. We had a lot of new and different boxed nails, so darn tootin', I would have thrown those suckers in a garbage bag. I'd been so rushed that second day with the few hours we'd been allowed that I forgot to bring garbage bags and things I needed too. That's when I was going on little sleep, severe pain, little food, and chaotic mind. Is it any wonder my brother and I got home that night and basically did nothing, then crashed early and hard? I went straight to bed and was out. Earlier than I normally sleep. It took us days to recover. One thing that has helped me sleep, though, is knowing I don't have to manage a ceiling about to collapse in my mom's room, or leaks from when it rains, a porch about to collapse, dogs getting hurt from those things, damp, mold, gnats, a wall looking like it was going to cave, and so many more things. Because the sheetrock in my mom's room began to get so heavy from wetness that I could see the edge of it coming apart from the other. The wall with the window where the leak came through was feeling spongy. So it was a matter of weeks before that came down. There was a real hole in the roof too, I discovered in November. When you came up the street, you could see where it collapsed. A long line, not a simple tiny hole. Just before we left, there were leaves that got blown in the attic from the outside. Yay, not. Why did my brother and I have to move? As I said a while ago, our house went into a foreclosure. My mom had a reverse mortgage on the house. The way those get people is that you can get a lot of money from your house, but you have no mandatory payments each month like a traditional mortgage. You can pay it down over time if you want to, but what they don't emphasize is that when that person passes away, unless there is another on that loan, the loan comes due in full. For years I would tell my mom to put me on it. Many advised her to. Even when she was drafting that last one and I was with her, the guy said straight out while I sat there, it could be a good idea to do it, or however he phrased it. She would full on scream at me if I ever even got close to touching on that topic. Because to her, I was trying to control her. And control everything. Take everything over, and who knows what went on in her mind. Help? No. Control? Yes. Look out for self? Never. Only control, and I was evil. If I was on that loan, we could have stayed in the house and not worried about that part at least. But, like the buyers faced, we still would have had a ton of money in repairs and more to come up with. While packing, I discovered items that had mold on them and had to throw them out because the house was that damp. So we lost plenty to that sort of thing too. We couldn't run the heater from lack of money, but also I think in general that wouldn't have helped. The house was always cold and damp because of the age, the leaks, the dampness. People often looked at the house and I'm sure would wonder how it got so bad. Well, because my mom would say she didn't want to fix it up for someone else. She'd say, I'm not fixing my roof so a stranger can have a nice roof when I'm gone. This was her thinking. That brother and I would cease to exist when she passed, or leave instantly, since we were that rich, of course, and were just lying and keeping stuff from her. Not so much. She used to yell at us for trying to control her, keep us from having friends coming by to help with anything repair-wise. If anyone offered, I would have to say, no thank you, because it was easier. No questions, no guilt, no words of comfort or suggestions and how-tos. No shaming or pushing. In reality, it was that she would throw them out, figuratively, under the mannerly way, scream at me in rages that never would end, if she even allowed them into the house to begin with. Even if a rage ended that night, she'd re-rage months later over the same topic. Maybe the memory came up when she was in a bad mood. Maybe she would have a bad dream about me, lying to her, and think that dream meant I was. The list could go on as to why the rages were logged for later, and what triggered them later on. So we weren't allowed to help with anything. She wouldn't hesitate to call the police and have someone escorted off her property if we pushed too far. If you think that's being facetious, well, you didn't know her or people like her. Be thankful for that. And to leave, same. She'd stalk us, use the police. Think us being an adult stopped her? It just made it easier for her to track us. More with the invention of the internet. It's another reason why I would stop doing a lot of stuff I did online or did things differently. I can't break myself of a lot of those habits. I'm trying to for some, but it's still a struggle. She didn't hesitate to figure out ways of getting into our emails and log our passwords. I kept finding a lot of that while I cleaned up after her passing. These are the kinds of things I discuss, not just because it helps me get it out, to process it and the utter frustration that few understand how deep that can go as to why someone can't live a normal, free life. Also, why they don't know comfort zones being around narcissists. But to also help people understand what it can truly be like to have lived around that for so long. It's not just the movies where you see this drug cartel guy keeping tabs on all his men and women who work for him, or someone who is a cop and abuses his privileges to ensure his wife knows no freedom. This is that normal person you see every day who seems to be happy and doing fine. They might be living every single breath of their life controlled to an nth degree and knowing they have zero freedom to be them. So when you wonder why they don't just up and walk out, do things you expect them to be able to do easily and freely, or have the idea they're able to do as you do, I don't know. I could list so much for that. We just aren't all the same. Sometimes those individuals you look at and go, why aren't you doing blank? It's so easy to just do XYZ. Why allow this or that to happen? If you're smiling, things must not be that bad. They're doing the best they can with what they have and the abilities they have, trying to be happy with the circumstances they're given. Would it be better if they walked around crying all the time? No. Then that too would have plenty of comments around it. We judge so many people from our own life experiences, then see them as lacking for not doing what we do or can. Because for us it's easy after all, right? Nobody has the same tools as another. Nobody has been raised as another has. Nobody is the same as another. Some are super hyper alert to the point they can tell you every single thing moving around them and all the details of everyone around them. Some are so oblivious that not a single thing registers but themselves. The point is that far too many always would look at our house or how bad it got as if it was all on my brother and I. My brother is starting to see how much I actually do lately, just from now being on the same floor as I had all day, every day. And this is someone who's lived with me for many years. Not even he had any idea of all that took place on the daily, that was just managing daily, and not the other stuff I was always on top of doing, trying to slowly make a dent in all the to-dos. I couldn't even begin to tell you all the reasons my mom kept us from having freedom, despite it seeming as if we had all the freedom in the world. One of which was that reverse mortgage. It was her ultimate control over everything. One night I got so annoyed with my mom convincing herself my brother and I simply vanished into thin air when she passed, to the point I confronted her and asked her where did she think we went when she passed. She talked all the time about the house going to a stranger, and when she passed, we had nowhere to go. So where the heck did she think we'd go? And then my brother and I had our own fun with someone who had the same first name as our mother. She was the one in control of the money. Everyone knew I was to be kept out of it. I was not the one who wanted to be in charge. I said it for years to my mom. My brother needs responsibility, period. Stop putting me in charge of everything and expecting me to handle everything, especially the finances. So I told the buyers that. I told him that. I do not want to be a part of any of it. I don't want the responsibility. I don't want to be the one in charge. I am done. I am tired of it. I have been doing this for years and no freaking more. So all were clear. He has worked in the mortgage world too, mind you. He is in charge. All were fine with it. Though I still had to keep signing paperwork, which was obnoxious. I should have signed a waiver from the start not to involve me. This woman who was to release the money to him waited for days after we should have gotten the money cleared so we could get a rental and start moving in to finally make me sign away rights to the money. So it was all released to my brother. Go figure. Everyone said it over and over and over. I was to sign a waiver, so I wasn't the one who had to be involved. One would think, do it from the start. Nah, She waited for days and made everything restart, so everyone was going, where is it? Oh, this one woman held it all up, no worries. She only had the same name as our dang mother. Even she had said she'd ensure I wasn't the one involved. Nope. Let's wait for days after everything should have been done and dealt with, finalized, and moved on from. Yes, frustration tone. Because it was cleared by everyone. Release Kim. Release her. Do not involve her. Everyone said okay. She even said okay. Nah, let's wait and then be like, oh, whoopsie. Kim, I need you to sign this to release you days after this should have been done and money sent already. It happened with the rental keys too. Come over, get the keys. Oh, I can't give you the keys until tomorrow. Okay, thanks for that little trip. I say that while not being bothered, since Brother and I got the reasons for most of those frustrations. Hi there, fun legalities. So yeah, I'm just venting. I'm aware of the why for those. It's more being told one thing, then that's not the thing that happens. Fast track to annoying me. That visit mostly ended up being a walkthrough to note anything that was wrong with the house. That way, if anything else came up, they'd know it was us, not already done. Being new to renting, that's not something we've had to do before, but I'm sure many of you have. I naturally do that anyway, though. I can't not. Even in our house, I noted every small thing wrong constantly, cataloging in my mind what would have to get fixed and how to. The other thing that I was dealing with that I hadn't mentioned anywhere, but on Facebook and to those close to me, was having to rehome my Doberman, which completely tore me apart. Not only did I not want to hear anything around it for general thoughts, but I didn't mention it just in case of bad actors who got hold of that information. I stuck to trying to work with friends to find Mila a home and anyone close until I finally had to post the information on Facebook, which was just as hard for me. Hopefully, I don't start to cry while reading this. I still cry whenever I talk about it. Probably will. We all know I'm a big old crybaby now too. Because I miss her. I have an ache inside for her that may not heal anytime soon. She was one loss too many for me, and a lot of my vitality was pretty well sucked out of me for everything that's happened. For the dogs who have passed in my arms. And giving up the house, which as I said wasn't as hard for me. I truly don't feel much for losing the house. My brother is a different story. I think I said it. That stopped feeling like home a long time ago. Mila, though. Mila was the one loss too many. For Kona, too. The neighbor dog is howling. Good timing. He and I have become good friends. It's a big, giant, black dog who can easily scale that fence if he wanted to, so I don't feel unsafe here. That's one thing I appreciated about the buyers, too, who helped us move. One of them was talking to me about Mila when I went into the kitchen to soothe Kona. The dogs didn't like being locked away in there, of course, but I kept trying to go in there and soothe them. So I picked him up to give him time, and one of the buyers came in there to talk to me about Mila, which I appreciated. That's why my brother and I don't have ill against those two. We get that it's business. All of it was business. They have their own people they have to listen to the word of and answer to, who probably also were up their bums to get us out by midnight that Monday and ensure we were. There are plenty of things those two buyers did that they didn't have to for us. Also, I know many are against the happens for a reason thoughts these days, but I do also have faith that not everything is a sheer accident of events, that things occur for reasons that serve a purpose in the end. Not all good, not all bad, plenty of variables. Not everything is good and perfect and great. But also, despite all the negative thoughts in me, and all the frustrations, all the lack of belief, all the wrongs that may take place, I have faith. I have faith it's for a purpose. It's for our betterment. It's for a lesson. It's for plenty. Like the time the buyer took to talk to me about Mila meant a lot. Like the time the guys took to retrieve some of the items we'd left behind, which they had zero reason to. Like the people who helped us move those last few hours of moving, who our neighbor brought in when I asked if she knew anyone. They didn't know us at all, and they went out of their way to help us get out of the house, packing things for us, though I heard some of the fun remarks that I ignored, the overwhelming comments, once they realized how bad the house was. Yes, that was the house of a hoarder who was a narcissist, control freak, abusive, and so many things, who hoarded, hated clean and nice, and purposely went out of her way to be miserable and make those around her miserable, so the house was bad off. Being without the funds to clean it, and the stamina and energy, I could only do so much, bit by bit, at a time, so the Kim version of clean wouldn't have taken place for years. It always annoyed me that people would come in and see the house and put that on my brother and I. Some I'm sure did, but at the same time I can't change someone's thoughts and have no desire to. Want to think that was our fault and the way we were? I won't answer for my brother. I think he has a lot of my mom in him too, but for me, come take a look at this house in a few months when I have the majority unpacked and tell me I'm anything but, well, kinda anal about cleaning. I like minimalism and clean. I like to breathe. I like space. My brother teases me, but again, I don't let it bother me. Who benefits from the clean? Not just me. I'm plenty grateful for things too. Like, despite the fact that I had to give up my dog, I ended up with a large dog right next door who instantly was a friend of mine, who has been watching over our yard and lets us know when someone comes in our yard now. So if someone was creeping about, I guarantee we'd know. I'm grateful for the fact that there is so much now I don't have to keep track of. Not just from my brother finally seeing all I do and helping out more, as well as we made the deal of he takes over the financial aspects, so I don't have to deal with that stuff anymore, and I'll deal with the house. Because of that, my mind is wanting to play in the fiction world again. It's what happens when it eases, when my mind relaxes. It wants to play. Coincidentally, it's the same as my body. I'm grateful for the fact that the way this house is set up, I can open the back door and my dogs are allowed to go and come as they wish, as long as they behave. Looking at Lucy and her desire to occasionally tell people she's out there. They're limited for now since it's winter on how long the door will stay open. Though as of writing this, outside we are still a bit warm here. It's 44 degrees today. It's been in the 50s. Where we live gets a bit more wind compared to the old house though. I'm grateful that we are out of that house. Hopefully the curse of our mother will lift in time. I started to call it that. Yes, I'm being facetious, but it's because everything was super complicated, time-consuming, difficult, and with her it was always like that. I'm also grateful that those of you who knew about the move checked in on us, ensured we were okay, offered help, even if just thoughts. Those who knew about Mila were going out of their way to help with her too. I couldn't ask for better people to be around me, and I love and appreciate all of you, even those of you who have subscribed to my blog and this broadcast if you're listening and not reading. I'm beyond grateful you think I have something to say, that you enjoy reading or listening. Mila is currently with someone who is a lot like I am, and has a daddy who is a really good man and loves to kiss on her like I did. She is living on 2.5 acres and is the companion animal to the woman who got her. She's an emotional sport animal. They also just got her a little puppy to raise, a little boy. So though I'm sure she misses us, and more so Kona, she is in a good place and will be happy for her last few years. Though I ache for her presence every single day and miss her in ways I can't express. I'm grateful that worked out well for her. It was exactly what I wanted to find for her. People to spoil her, a family to love her as much as I did, who will keep her close, love her a lot, and spoil her for her last few years. I'm grateful for all those who helped my brother and I survive this past year on so little with words, physical help, financial, even if none are accepting anything in return. We probably wouldn't have got through this year without all the amazing people surrounding us. And I do include those of you who are reading and listening. The donations to our GoFundMe, which was mostly for my mom's cremation and such, and then we hoped to save our house with it. But then it became just helping us keep lights and heat on. So combined with all I was doing for work and selling items and the like, we never got behind and always had everything paid. We also lived on very little usage of a lot of that, which was hard on me for wanting to clean and tend dogs. But a dog bath doesn't tend to be a priority when you can't afford the water and electricity for it. Even my brother and I tried not to take as many showers to conserve. We used battery-powered lights, solar, or lanterns for light and heat. I'd also cut us back on everything to bare minimum. So there was nothing I didn't slice and dice. Lights, trash, internet, didn't matter. If I could drop it, I did. So usually even putting out blogs and the audios for this, I was mostly working in darkness and trying to only do things to clean or cook when the light of day helped me. And packing during those hours? Lanterns or flashlights was how I did it. This year, I'm going to work on increasing my income, getting paperbacks out and done, because I can afford to get back to that, and get my fiction back on track too. My mind is percolating ideas around it, as well as other things around fiction. I'd had plans on doing so long ago, but it went kind of kaput in me. I'm not going to say what it is for now, but if I pursue it, I will. I'm extremely grateful too that the buyers helped us as well, and for every minute they took with us. I really enjoyed meeting with both of them and laughing with them, joking around with them, and will miss them if this is where that connection ends. There were some really thoughtful and good men, goobers too, so I wish them very well with their business and how they handle it. They deserve it. I'm keeping their information in case anything happens to my brother, and he told them to. This year, next, whenever, because they were good at explaining things, have plenty of help to offer around real estate and more. So if something happened to my brother and I needed help with the rental, I'd have it, and anything around it. Also, a final note. I am aware I am severely behind on messages and a total a-hole when it comes to response times and responses right now. I'm just in a weird mental space. It's not that I am in a bad space, as much as just quiet. I keep to myself and am not the best at reaching out or responding. So bear that in mind. I won't apologize or overpromise that give me a week and I'll be back to normal. I think I'm finally processing grief. You're welcome to overload me with messages or whatever you want. I won't be bothered or offended. Just know to receive a response may take time. If I held zero interest in anything to do with you, I would cut things off in that instant so you won't be held up from moving on with your life without me. Do it to me if you need to. I'm not trying to be insulting. Personally, do anything to you by it or anything else. I either forget, my phone acts up, or simply am still in that space of keeping to self in that moment. I do apologize for how I behave and make you feel in those instances. I know how it feels to be on the other side, especially if you're really wanting to talk to that person or get to know them. And it's not a fun feeling whatsoever. I don't hate you. I'm not purposely doing it to hurt you or otherwise. I do apologize for it. More to come. Thank you for reading and subscribing, or listening in this case. I know how valuable your time is, so it means so much that you are here, and I am beyond grateful you chose to spend this time with me. What are your thoughts? Engage with me and start a conversation. Just don't be rude about it. And as always, your shares are so incredibly appreciated. Share with anyone you think may enjoy this. Word of mouth is the best form of expanding the reach, so this reaches the eyes and ears of whoever may enjoy it. My donation link, if you'd like to support this and help keep it going, is coffee.com/Kimberly Sue Iverson. That's ko-fi.com/Kimberly Sue Iverson. Every little bit helps. So thank you for your generosity. Remember, apparition weavers, everyone is fighting battles inside nobody can see. Who are you willing to see today? And who are you willing to let see you today? Want a chance for your story to be featured? Whether you're an author starting out, published and want to boost, have a tale of old to tell that has been passed down through family, or just want to share your own life experience, get in touch. Email stories2read@KimberlySueIverson.com. That's stories2read@KimberlySueIverson.com.